So I bought another Sebenza. This one is the 31 small. Why did I buy another Sebenza? Well, I only have the 21 in the small size. Actually, I have two 21s. One is not with me. But, and I like the 21. The 21 is a good knife. Really feels nice and smooth in terms of the frame lock. Not sure if I prefer the 21 frame lock to the 31 because of the ceramic ball insert. I don't really care about that too much. Some people have really strong opinions about that. To me, that's not as relevant. I feel like both of them feel very good and they operate very well and very securely. Now, what I do prefer on the 31 though is the MagnaCut blade steel. The 21s, the S30V, the S35VN, excuse me, was relatively soft. Now later S35VN versions, as on my 31 Sebenza large, yes, they also made the S35 steel in the 31 for a while before they switched steels. This one is nice and hard. This is a good steel. This one is 59 to 60 HRC according to Chris Reeve, and I feel like it holds an edge a lot better than the same steel on my 21s. But the steel is no longer available, so the MagnaCut now 63 to 64, again according to Chris Reeve, which is nice. That's a nicer, I think that's an upgrade in steel, quite tremendous upgrade actually. The old ones, the 21s, you constantly have to sharpen them. It's a little bit too annoying for an EDC knife, especially in modern days where you have a lot of highly abrasive materials. So yes, I always wanted a 31. I always wanted the steel upgrade, which is why I got one. It took me a while because these are very, very hard to get currently. They're always sold out, which also speaks for how much they are desired right now, right? These are very desirable knives. It's not perfect. The 31 has flaws, of course, right? The price is one. It's very expensive. The 31s now go for almost twice the price than my old 21s went for, right? But there was a huge time difference, in between. Inflation, prices of materials, prices of electricity and resources and everything. Like, there is just a lot of time in between that, right? So that's always how it's going to be. Everything gets expensive, more expensive over time. It's just how it is. I can't do anything about it. I'm not saying that it's worth it to buy an expensive knife like this, right? Technically, yes, it's not worth it, but also it kind of is, because like if you have a couple hundred budget knives, you're also gonna come out with the same price. And I'd rather have one good knife than a lot of inexpensive knives. Take, for instance, the Ontario Red 2. This is one of my favorite small folders. It's a fantastic knife in terms of design. But after a couple of months, the blade centering is gone, right? I cannot get this centered anymore. And this happened fairly quickly. And you will get blade play and everything. This one doesn't have blade play too bad, but there is just a huge difference, like a tremendous difference in build quality. This knife is perfect in terms of lockup, no blade play, perfectly centered, spot on all the time. If you disassemble these and have a look inside, you just know that these are much better knives than anything else on the market. Like really, most knives are not built as well. There are a couple of other knives that are built as well, but these are also, $500, $600 knives. These are not cheap knives in terms of the build quality. The question is, do you need this amount of build quality? Well, probably you won't, right? I'm totally fine with my Spydercos from Seiki City, Japan, although these are not perfectly built at all. But if I don't disassemble them too often, it's not a big deal. But there's just something about it, having a knife that's so well made with screws that can last such a long time, and the interior designing on this knife is fantastic. Like, it doesn't get any better than that unless you buy another Chris Reeve knife like an Incosio and Umnumzan, right? These are fantastic knives in terms of how it's set up. So yeah, the build quality, the performance, the longevity of the blade with the Magna cut steel and the hollow ground blade. For instance, take a Benchmade 940, fantastic knife, right? It's a good carryable profile, it's very easy to carry, and it has a nice strong tip. The Sebenza also has a nice strong tip, despite this being the draw point and not the Tanto version, which is a little bit thicker at the tip even. But this is enough for me. So I feel like the draw point is my favorite blade shape in a Chris Reeve knife. The Tanto is a little bit too stubby, and the sheep's foot is a little bit, it's not as universally, it can't be pressed into most situations or as many situations as the draw point can. So I feel like the draw point is my favorite blade shape. But this one is still fairly thick on the spine, but then because of the hollow grind it also cuts well, right? It cuts really, really well, unless you go into like certain foods where there is too much binding at the shoulders. But for the most part, it's a really well cutting knife. Now this knife has a flat ground blade and a thick geometry and a thick cutting edge, so the S30V does not come into unlock its full potential here, right? I have to constantly resharpen this knife because of its thicker geometry. Yes, thicker edge angles make knives cut a lower amount of time. That's just how it is. This has been proven over and over again. It's just not me making this up. This is a fact, right? This is how geometry works. Thicker edges dull down quicker. And yeah, with the hollow grind you get more longevity. Although I would recommend you using the first cutting edge, then putting one good solid cutting edge on there that's very, very good and symmetrical, and then maintain that cutting edge. I'm still on the factory cutting edge, and I'm gonna use it until it's completely worn down, and then I'm gonna resharpen it once, and then I'm gonna maintain that cutting edge for as long as possible. So you see the blade design is just like, it's long lasting, not just in terms of the construction. By the way, this feels so good, right? There's nothing like a Chris Reeve that's well broken in. I did oil it a little bit with the Chris Reeve grease oil, and then put some Loctite, the Chris Reeve Loctite, on the screws. The purple one, it's not that strong, and yeah, I will leave it like that for a really long time. I will not disassemble it anymore, because you don't have to, right? My large Chris Reeve Sebenza, I never disassemble it since I have it, and the action is perfect. Like this is a perfect action, and it's not gritty or anything, and yeah, it's a little bit dirty, but it runs clean, it runs fine. I think the washers really help with that. Another thing here is that this is a straight handled knife. Like if I bring back my Delica, this is one of my other favorite small knives, and it has a fantastic blade for cutting. Thin blade stock, thin cutting edge, K390 steel, perfect shape, but then the handle is sort of curved and puts you in a grip where you have to stay, right? This is not a grip that allows different positions, but here with the straight handle you have a lot more options in terms of how you grip the knife, and you can even slip over that guard and use it sort of to choke up really, really close to the cutting edge without actually having a dedicated choil, which limits, of course, or which takes away material from the cutting edge or the handle, and it's also not the most comfortable, right? I'm not a big fan of choils. I like handles like this, where the handle is designed in a way that you can come really close to the cutting edge. That's, in my opinion, a perfect design. There's nothing wrong with the sharp roll, by the way. I still love this. This is probably one of the best small knives that Spyderco has ever made, or in general, for that matter. So yeah, choils. I don't like choils. I don't like wasted space like on here, right? I like if the handle is designed with purpose. Now the handle is very short. I think the blade length is 8 centimeter and the handle length is 18, or 18 overall. Not the handle is 18, but the 18 overall. And yeah, it's a short handle. So I put a lanyard on here to maybe help with the grip. I will change the thumb studs, I will say that, because on the large one you have the same shape of the thumb studs, but you have more space in between the scales and the thumb stud to slip in here and push on it like that. You don't push directly on a Chris Reeve thumb stud, right? But here you don't have that space, so you end up getting poked by this thumb stud, which is annoying. So yeah, I will change the thumb stud, and I might change the clip over time because it's a little bit too visible for my taste. Small knives should have small clips, in my opinion, that are short and, you know, less visible. So although the clip works really well, it's one of the best clips in the game, I will still might change the clip and the thumb stud. So yeah, as you can see, it's not a perfect knife, but it is as close as it gets to a perfect small knife. There's not much that you can do here to improve it, other than, you know, cutting costs or something, I don't know. But then the quality would probably also go down, which is not something I would like to see. So this is a lifetime knife. Of course, you can carry this for a really long time, which is what I'm planning to do. I want to carry this for a really, really long time and use it for a long time. So I will give you regular updates on how this carries and uses. And yeah, it has already started to snail trail just a little bit, and I can't wait to see how this looks in a year or so, carrying this non-stop. This will not be the only knife that I will carry. I will always combine this with a larger knife, you know, such as like a fixed blade or something like that. But yeah, I will try to carry it as long as possible. And yeah, this knife certainly will hold up to that. I can already tell you that because I had quite a couple of Sebenzas and Chris Reeve knives in general. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and maybe see each other in another video. Goodbye.